Hello and welcome to Reel Film Snobs. I'm Angela Yeager. I'm pleased to have with me back on the show Autumn Edwards. Welcome to the show, Autumn.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for having me.
I don't know why I just said it like that. Autumn Edwards. I don't know. That was weird. Anyway, well, you're on our last episode. We did our best films of the year, 10 through 6. And now we're doing 5 through 1. If you can believe it, back in the old days, Brian and I used to do all 10 in one episode. It was like exhausting.
That
Yeah,
blows
because
my
that's,
mind.
I know, because that's really 20 movies between two people, and that's too much for 30 minutes. We'd like to talk a little bit about the movies since we loved them. So this is our top 5 films of 2025, and with that caveat that we said on the last episode again, that we didn't get to see everything. There's still ones even coming out here in the smaller city in Oregon that we live in that are, maybe could have made the list. So maybe we'll talk about those in a future episode. Make sure to go to our website at realfilmsnobs.com and look at our honorable mentions lists, because I have about 10 others that didn't make my list for top 10. And you can also see, I'll add where the streaming options are, or theatrical options for these movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strong
So,
year for movies. I feel like there are many that I could sub in, at any point for these. So
exactly. I
definitely
mean,
check
some of
out
this is
these
kind of
movies.
random, to be honest. It's like there's a lot that could have been in my top 10. I kind of chose based on would I want to rewatch this again, and are these ones I want to draw attention to.
Same.
So, speaking of drawing attention to, I'll kick things off with my number 5 movie, because this is one that really bombed at the box office and is absolutely fantastic. Die, My Love by director Lynne Ramsay. It's a psychological drama directed by Ramsay, who co-wrote the screenplay. It's based on a novel, and it follows a young mother, played by Jennifer Lawrence, in rural Montana, whose severe postpartum depression and psychosis starts to unravel her marriage and her life, really. Lakeith Stanfield in a very small role, Nick Nolte, Sissy Spacek, and as her husband, Robert Pattinson. I think one thing that's interesting to note is that Lynne Ramsay is not an easy director. Her films are tough watches. If you watch something like You Need to Talk About Kevin, or I Know Where I'm Going. God, you need the one with Joaquin Phoenix that I love that I can't remember the name of right now. But all of her films are tough watches. This is not a director that you go see because you just want a light little romp. That said, this movie is also very funny. I think we talked about on our last episode that a lot of the movies this year have been like dark dramedies, I would say. They're dark. There's really dramatic expert elements, but they're also very funny in parts. And this movie is also very funny. Jennifer Lawrence does a high wire act with her performance here. She was really robbed of an Oscar nomination, I think in part because, quite honestly, her character is a little bit unlikable, especially to men. I'll just put it out there. Like, it's a tough character. She is at turns very funny, sexual, feral, really animalistic, and also really awful at times to people, and really mean. Sometimes very funny mean. It's a really tough performance, and I don't think she got enough credit. I think Rose Byrne, who also is phenomenal in If I Had Legs You'd Kick You, I think that character is more sympathetic because we could all be like, oh my gosh, that kid's driving me crazy, her husband's awful. With Die My Love, the husband isn't as unlikable or as horrible. He's trying his best, very badly often, but he's trying, he's frustrated. So I'm curious what you thought.
Oh, I absolutely love this film. I think, kind of relating back to last episode, we talked about Sorry Baby. I think what this movie really excels in is portraying that subjective experience, right, of postpartum depression. She is unlikable in many ways, except that I loved her. She is crazy in like the most, entertaining way, and a very like I think understandable way too. Like as you watch her go through this, I don't know. I felt like I could absolutely understand and see why she's acting in the way that she does. And like you said, Jennifer Lawrence has an incredible performance here. I think she may have been, number one for me as far as performances out of any movie last year. I think she was phenomenal, the best I've ever seen from her. Granted, I haven't seen many of her best movies, I think, but she's really, really, really good
She's
here.
really good.
And just on the note of like, the husband, it's played by Robert Pattinson. I think that's worth noting because not just because people love him, but he plays a really fun character too. He's like kind of just this, a little bit of a schlub. He's like good-hearted, but I really just love seeing him put on that, American accent and like, just, I don't know, it felt like a very different role for him too. And I like that he's kind of getting out there with his role choices too. He likes these little oddballs, and he does great too. Lynn Ramsay just put together a really phenomenal film here. I think it's beautifully shot
Yeah, it's
too.
gorgeous.
It's a very bold, I think, aesthetic direction she took it. It's a very blue film, very literally, but I think it looks phenomenal. I
Yeah.
think, again, just taking on this sensitive subject, I don't know. There's just so many wonderful things to talk about with it. I think, yeah, its themes are just very, very well conveyed. I love this movie.
Yeah, I agree with you, and yeah, I wish it got more love. It will be one, decades down, and a lot of critics didn't like it either, so they really missed the boat on this one. I think people really struggle with unlikable female characters, unlikable except for to Autumn, who loves unlikable characters and actually doesn't find them unlikable. So
She's bold. She's so bold, right? Like, or like Lynn Ramsay in like making this film makes her character like it's such a interesting direction to take it. You just don't see women portrayed like that ever, or really men. You just don't see anyone portrayed like that ever, and I think that's phenomenal. It's just nice to see something new. It's very refreshing.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, my number five was It Was Just an Accident, directed by
Oh,
Jafar Panahi. This is a drama about an auto mechanic who was once imprisoned and tortured by the Iranian authorities, and then one day a man with a prosthetic leg enters his workshop, and the mechanic recognizes the very distinct creak of his leg as that of one of his torturers. So sounds very heavy, and it is, I think, in like terms of the moral implications here, because it does kind of send this man spiraling. And spoiler alert, big spoiler alert, he does end up kidnapping that man. But I think it's really, really fascinating the way he explores, revenge and the merits or demerits of that. But also, again, just like so many other movies this year, it's heavy material, but it's also very funny.
yeah.
This is a very funny. I was so shocked at like just how much I was laughing at this movie. There are some very goofy things that happen, and like I don't know, it was just very endearing. I think the cast of characters, they were all very interesting and wonderful. They all have kind of personal ties to what's happening, and I just thought it was a really wonderful exploration of revenge and what that means and what that can do to a person and what trauma, how that can inform the way somebody moves through life. So
Yeah, I love this film. I'm going to be talking about it more later. But I love that you brought up the cast of characters because this is another one. Like if there was, I really wish that Academy Screen Actors Guild does an ensemble award, and I think it would be a great one to do because some of my favorite films I feel like this year were really because of the ensemble, not just because of. I mean, Die My Love was actually more of a that's the Jennifer Lawrence show. The rest of the
mhm.
cast is great, but it's like that film hinges on. And so same thing with If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. That's the Rose Byrne show, right? But this film is really the whole cast is really phenomenal. And there's this whole group of people that he brings. So he goes to other people who were tortured, basically to be like, is this the guy? Because he's not sure. They never actually saw the guy. They heard the creak of his prosthetic leg. But so he brings all these other people in that he knows were also tortured by this person. And it's a motley crew, if you will. And that's where the comedy comes in because there's a woman who's literally in her wedding dress getting photos taken for her wedding day, her fiance, this other guy who is like her ex-boyfriend basically who's really bitter and upset, and a photographer. I mean, there's all these people involved and they're all very distinct personalities, which I loved, and there's a lot of humor with that because they're fighting with each other while they're also trying to like figure out whether this is the guy that tortured them. So you wouldn't think a movie about torture in a tyrannical regime would be also have very funny moments, but somehow Panahi manages to do it. And it's one of the funnier movies he's made because it's not, a lot of his films have not. It's also kind of the most slick movie he's made in a while because so many of his films were made under house arrest. If you watch something like This Is Not a Film, it's literally just him in his house because he couldn't leave his house. So, but he still managed to make a great film out of it. I just think he's one of our most important filmmakers working today. And this film, I feel like, I'll talk about it more later, is a tour de force. Speaking of tour de forces, my number 4 film is On Becoming a Guinea Fowl by director Rungano Nyoni. It follows the character of Shula, who discovers her uncle's dead body on the road one night, leading her and her cousins to uncover dark family secrets during the funeral proceedings. The film explores themes of trauma and cultural rituals within a middle-class Zambian family. So this is, you know, they have a really nice house. This is not like the type of movies we usually see from Africa. We're used to seeing lots of films about Africa with very poor villagers, for instance, or poor people in the city. This is a middle-class family that don't have, the focus is on these issues of, again, getting back to generational trauma, and with like Sorry Baby, you know, sexual assault issues and things like that. But the film's done in such a way, it's very culturally specific to Zambian rituals and the matriarchy and the patriarchy and the way that like the women and men are treated. But it's also universal. As I was watching it, I was thinking about this article I read when I was younger about like 1 in 5 American girls are molested by a relative, or maybe it was 1 in 10. I'm not remembering the statistic. It was a very high number, are molested by a relative or a close family friend. And so this is a theme like it's universal, but yes, very culturally specific too. And I loved that. It's also another one that's very funny in parts because there's this funeral, their funerals there go on for days, right? And so there's all this like family drama happening at the funeral proceedings. It's gorgeously shot. I mean, this is a film that I just absolutely loved the look of. And this director, it's only her second film. Her last film, I Am Not a Witch, was also in my top 10 of that year over a decade ago. It's taken her that long to find funding to make another film, unfortunately. And I hope she gets to make more movies.
Yeah, I also really, really enjoyed this film. I think it's phenomenal. I love the way it explored the gender dynamics, right, between the men and women. Like, I think, you know, I mean, there are so many instances of it, but I think I love the way that it's not throwing it in your face. It's not like too, you know, there's not a lot of like making it textual. It's very like you just kind of have to see the situation play out and the way, you know, it's portrayed in any given scene. Like I think of the way all the men are just hanging out outside of the front of the house. They're just like drinking and eating all the food and everything, and all the women are inside, of course, cooking away, you know, and like cleaning things and like taking care of the house. And I just think it's like the way she just fit so many, you know, little observations about, you know, gender and family dynamics and everything in here was wonderful. Like you said, it's also very, very funny. I was laughing at so many different instances, and some of it is like dark comedy too.
Oh, very dark,
yeah. But I just thought it was really wonderful. You know, I love the way she wove in the guinea fowl theme. Eventually, like when you find out like why it's titled this, I thought that was really great. I don't know. I just love that. It really, it doesn't talk down to you as an audience member, right? Like you kind of have to read into it a little bit. It's all there for you. But it trusts you to like pick up.
Yeah, it doesn't explain anything. You've got to figure out what's going on. It's true. You have to be paying attention. Imagine that, paying attention in a movie. At the same time, it's very rewarding. And the lead actress, it was her first movie, who plays Shula, and she's phenomenal.
She's
and
so
the whole
good.
movie centers on her, really. But I loved all of her cousins and the family members and the aunties. And you brought up that the aunties are at heart. Yeah, there is this kind of patriarchal structure. On the other hand, the women are kind of also the bosses in some ways. Like when they go to, they make the decisions. Like they're the ones that are saying to the uncle's current wife, like we're going to cast her out. You know, they're like driving some of the decision making too. So it's a very interesting dynamic. It's more complex than the usual. Oh, men are, you know, controlling everything. The women. There is like a lot of nuance going on, which I appreciate about it. So we'll move on to your next one.
Yeah. So my number 4 was Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie, as we talked about in the last episode. I just love, you know, the specificity of this film, like we talked about, the set dressing, just to talk about a different aspect of it. phenomenal. I mean, it's really really wonderful the way they portrayed, New York and all these other places like in that time period. It's so specific. It's so well done. It's Jack Fisk, right? So of course it's
Legend,
yeah,
legend.
it's
Yeah.
it's amazingly done. Like I don't know, I could just sing its praises to the end of time. Beautiful to look at. I mean, just watch our last episode to see us talk about it. It's really really good.
Well, I will add, I'm glad you brought up the production design because it is nominated for an Academy Award for that. And I think it probably might not win, even though Jack Fisk is a legend and it deserves to win, because people often overlook films that have quote unquote realistic looks. But it's not easy to recreate early 1950s New York in a 2025. New York doesn't look anything like that anymore. And you also forget how much a production design is about giving you a feeling. There's a lot of use of like greens and dark browns and those kind of hues throughout the film, like when he's going in the hallways of, you really feel like you're in this kind of like Jewish neighborhood in New York in the early 50s. There's some of the buildings that Marty's in, you can almost feel like the smell and I could almost feel like I was there, and that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I think production design doesn't get enough attention. People just think like, oh, it's like whatever the glossiest looking movie is or something that's really fantastical or whatever, but it's much more subtle than that. And so
Yeah. I love
I
the texture of the film, right?
yeah.
Like you said, it feels very tactile. Like you just look at the walls and you're like, somebody has lived here for decades. You can see it like
Right, the
cracking.
apartment that Marty, the
Yeah,
cramped apartment that Marty's in with his mom, played by Fran Drescher, like the pet shop or that his girlfriend works at. Like you just felt like the shoe store. Like all these settings are just like I felt like none of it felt like fake or a set, but it also felt like I was transported in a cinematic way. It didn't feel like now either, right? So I loved that about the movie. So I think there's a lot of things to love here, and it made my top 10. It's on the previous episode, so it's definitely a great film. By Josh Safdie. So, okay, we'll move on to my number three film, which is Sinners by director Ryan Coogler. I actually debated my top three. I feel like actually my top five really could have been almost any order. I was a big fan of this film. It's set in 1932 in the Mississippi Delta. Film stars Michael B. Jordan in a phenomenal performance. I mean, the man is just ungodly gifted. I mean,
two
he's just,
performances.
well, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Like, he's ungodly gifted. Not only is he just absolutely handsome as all can be, but he's just phenomenally talented. He plays twins who are very different. They don't look that different though. So he has to play two characters that are identical twins, and at every moment of the film, I knew exactly which one I was looking at. That is hard to do without a lot of trickery of the camera. It's mostly because he plays them so differently. You know exactly which twin. One twin is basically the nicer one, and the other one is got the devil in him a little bit. He's up to no good sometimes. They go back to the South. After being away to open a juke joint, and they have these ambitious plans. They're tired of people stepping on their toes, and they're then confronted by a supernatural evil. Yes, vampires. It's a vampire movie, but it's not. It's a musical, but it's not. And I love all of those things about it because I love a good musical, but there are very few done, and the music in this is phenomenal. Miles Canton, who plays one of the main characters, is a musician in real life. He does a lot of movies here. Great. Another one where it could be another ensemble cast performance. Haley Steinfeld, Jack O'Connell as the Irish Devil, Lumni Masaka, and Delroy Lindo, who got a surprise Oscar nomination that I was not expecting for a fairly small role. So I love this movie. I love a movie that makes good use of music. It's phenomenally filmed and it's phenomenally acted. There's just what's not to like.
I totally agree with all those points. And, kind of relating back to Marty Supreme, the specificity of time and place, right? The set dressing, the costumes, everything
Oh,
about
yeah.
it is wonderful. It's like such a well portrayed, time and place. It's so specific. And again, singing the praises of, the performance, like you said, you can tell whichever twin he is at any given time just because of like his body language, right? Like it's not
Right.
just the different like costuming or whatever. It's just the way that he carries himself and the attitude that he brings. It's really really phenomenal. The music is great. It's like it really just gets you moving and gets you excited and everything. And I like the different kinds of music you see, right? You have like the bluesy stuff, and then you also have, the
Irish folk music,
Irish
yeah,
folk
which is very
music. Like,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's such a variety here. It's so fun. I think that we don't get enough like four quadrant movies like this, anymore, where it's like this is a fantastically entertaining piece of movie making, but it also has a lot of these deeper themes, right, with like the racism and et cetera, like woven into it. But it's just a really wonderful, fun film. I like the horror of it and the way that it doesn't really start out feeling like that. It kind of creeps in over time, which I just thought it was wonderful. There's so many great things to sing the praises about here. There's one really phenomenal like scene as well, that it just becomes like this music video kind of where all these different performers, singers, dancers, etc., from all these different time periods are kind of weaving in and out throughout the scene, and it's just like, I don't know, it feels like a beautiful ode to music and art and creativity, and like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's very uplifting, in a wonderful
For
way.
sure, for sure. Yeah, love this film. And I have to say, also, the only film in the entire top 10 for the box office for 2025 that was an original story. Everything else was a remake, sequel, reimagining, IP type mess. So I give it for that it actually brought people to the theaters to see it. Because most of the movies we're talking about, unfortunately, were not box office successes. So I'm happy that Ryan Coogler actually made a movie people wanted to see as well, and that it happened to be really good. That
Hmm.
doesn't happen that often. So we should move on though.
So my next one we're going to talk about, well, actually we already did talk about Die My Love,
Yeah.
Lynne Ramsay. Fantastic film. I would be remiss if I didn't include it in my top 10. I think everyone should go see it. We sung its praises earlier. There's so much more to it. Go see it. Yeah, I don't know how much more I can say about it that we haven't said already, but I just really, really love this film. I think it's stuck with me, maybe almost more than any other film here, just in it. It's such a unique piece of filmmaking. I really, really loved
So I thought that was going to be your number one. So now I'm really curious because I was
it.
prepared to see. I thought Die My Love was going to be your number one. So it wasn't. So I'm really curious. So we'll move on because we only. And I want to have time for our top two. So my number two film is The Secret Agent by oh gosh, I'm going to butcher his name. Kleber Mendonça Filho. I'm making it up. I'm sorry for my Brazilian friends out there. It's a 2025 neo noir political thriller written and directed by this director who happens to be one of my favorite modern directors. Although I didn't know that when I was watching it, that I like a lot of his films. It follows Armando, a former professor caught in a political turmoil as the Brazilian government is taken over by a dictatorship, and he's fleeing to attempt persecution and resisting an authoritarian regime. Another one with a huge ensemble cast because he goes into hiding with all these other people who are also kind of in trouble with the government, mostly for just being kind of leftist in some way. But authors, professors, researchers, activists, it's a slew of people. And it also has Udo Kier, the great German actor, in his final film role, which I just have to do a call out for that. But the lead actor, who is amazing in this, is justly nominated. It somehow broke through, got a ton of Academy Award nominations, despite the fact I feel like nobody saw this movie. I loved it. He's a phenomenal director. He shoots it. It's a period piece. It's another one that looks, uses those 70s kind of sets, and you feel like you've been transported into that time and place. And terrific Brazilian music. All the music's phenomenal. The performances are phenomenal. He uses split screens throughout the film very phenomenally. This director really likes to play with the medium a lot, so it's not just, even though it's a 2 hour 40-minute movie, I was enthralled every step of the way.
Speaking of nobody having seen that, I unfortunately still have not seen it. I've heard its praises sung, and I cannot wait to see it. I'm going to see it as soon as I can. I'm very, very excited for that.
Yeah, it was only here like in Salem for like a week or something, so you're forgiven, but
Mhm.
you need to see it. So you're number two.
My number two was Happyend, directed by Sora. We talked
Ah,
about this a little bit in a previous episode, so if you want to check out our Seattle Film Festival episode, we talked about it more extensively there. It's basically about a group of high school students in near future Japan. They're a mix of ethnicities, and they struggle under an increasingly authoritarian administration at their school, which echoes the political climate at large. I just love coming of age films, and this is another great entry in this genre. This is Sora's like feature debut. He's the son of oh goodness, the amazing composer who did Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and so many other things. I'm spacing on the name now. I should have had
yeah.
that ready. But anyway, phenomenal. Speaking of like great, great casts, great ensemble cast here. I think all the actors are amazing, right? They're very talented young actors. There's only one professional actor, which I was surprised at because they all do such a phenomenal job in their role. Highly recommend going to see this one if you get the chance. Again, check out our previous episode for more discussion on it.
Yeah, and I loved it as well. It didn't make my top 10, but it's in my top 20, so it's on my honorable mentions list. And I saw it twice. I got to see it at the Seattle Film Festival with you, and then I saw it with my friend Haley down in Tucson at the Loft Film Festival where it showed. And I was like, you have to see this movie. And his dad is Ryocho Sakamoto. I probably spelled it. You can pronounce it correctly, Autumn. But yes, I thought it was a phenomenal debut. Good year for debut films. Sorry, Baby, this one. I mean, there was a lot of really good, like, strong debut films where you're like, this wasn't like somebody who just feeling like they are trying to find their feet. This comes out and you're just like, wow, this filmmaker knows what he wants to say. And like you said, considering it's mostly non-professionals, I would have never known. I would have thought these were young people that have been acting forever because they're so confidently played, and you really get a sense of each character. And I loved how the friendships were developed in this movie. I felt like I knew these kids. I knew what their friendships were like. There's the music kid who just loves music and nothing else. And there's the kid who is kind of an ethnic minority in Japan, and his family, even though they've been there forever, we can all relate with this these days, right? His family's been in Japan forever. They're still treated poorly because they're not, quote unquote, Japanese, And so I loved all those layers to it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll move on to our number one films of the year. Drum roll. Now I know which one is yours because I figured it out. Okay, I'll start with mine. It was Just an Accident by director Jafar Panahi. I mean, how many of the filmmakers in here have been arrested for making their films? And in fact, while Jafar Panahi was in New York accepting an award for Best Director for this film, I issued another warrant for his arrest. And just this week, his co-writer on this film was put in prison. So that just happened. I'm not saying that makes the film great. I'm just saying the film is great film, and that he believes so strongly what he's doing that he's willing to go to prison for it. And the fact that this movie, we talked about it earlier because it's in your top 5 here, but it's also very funny. The fact that he could still find humor in some of the most, this is a guy who spent over a year in prison in brutal conditions, had a starvation campaign, was tortured, and yet he comes out and makes a movie that's about someone who's been tortured, but it looks at issues of revenge and forgiveness. And we need to keep our humanity in check, because if all we're focused on is revenge, we lose our humanity. And I feel like that's the theme of the movie that really struck a chord with me, but that there's also different characters with different perspectives on that in the film. And I love that about it. There's not one easy answer in these kind of situations. I think for Panahi, he has kept his humanity by centering himself on the fact that he wants to continue to make great art. He believes in what he's doing. He believes in the Iranian people, really. And he does this all with like grace and comedic flair. That's the thing to me, the fact he's always really funny. Like, you would think that if what you've gone through, you would have lost your sense of humor by now, but he's always very funny when I watch him in interviews too. And that humor comes out in this movie. To me, it's just a phenomenal piece of filmmaking and essential viewing. I feel like it is your duty, because this man, I'm going to say this sounds really strident, but I feel like because this man is willing to go to prison repeatedly for making his films, it is our duty to watch them at the very least.
Yeah, what a beautiful act of resistance to continue to make films like this, despite, the brutal conditions he's subjected to.
Yes,
phenomenal
exactly.
film. So my number one we already talked about, so it's nice we can go a little quicker, I guess. Black News, Terms and Conditions, Kahlil Joseph, monumental work, absolutely nothing else like it in the world. Go see it. It's truly, no amount of words I think could do it justice. It's something that needs to be seen to be believed. I'm blown away every time I think about it. I just think it's a phenomenal work of art. Yeah.
And I really does hope Participant Media put it out, so it got some sort of distribution. So I hope that they offer it on streaming. We'll let you know, film fans, when it is available somewhere, so you can watch Blackness, because I think you're right. It's an essential piece of filmmaking. That's our top 5 for right now, although who knows? We're going to watch more movies. We'll let you know later. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great day and great movies.